Hello, everybody. I'm Josie Marshall, and I'm with AVB, and I'm here today with Jack and Katie. And because we have had 2020 revolving around COVID, wanted to talk a little bit about how that has affected the building industry. So, how has COVID affected the building industry, and what you've seen at AVB so far?
Well, the most important thing that we've seen is that people are much more focused on their homes because they're living there, working there. Everything seems to be based out of their homes. They're really considering what their needs and wants are for their home base. So that's been a really interesting timetable for everybody to really get back to us with what their top priorities for a home are.
Okay.
Yeah, and from a macro standpoint, it's really accelerated, the evolution of lots of things. The easiest example is Amazon and the home shopping experience, which is affecting the retail industry, and housing is very similar. I mean, we've seen since the 1990s, less formal spaces in homes. Not that we don't build homes with formal dining rooms, and but much fewer with formal living rooms today. And so we're seeing that evolution of housing is also changing on how people live, as we were becoming more technology based. And probably what was going to happen over the next 10 to 20 years has happened in 12 months.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay. How do you feel that floor planning specifically has changed?
Well, the
Or
most
is
important
changing?
thing that we're seeing, like Jack pointed out, is people are putting less focus on maybe their traditional entertaining spaces. And a big focus has been added to, as everyone knows, office spaces, work from home spaces, and homeschooling spaces. And all of this is, in addition to us having winter coming and kids stuck inside, and everything's going to be taking place from inside the home. I think that'll put even more focus on the office spaces.
Sure.
Yeah, your homeschooling is becoming a more critical part, obviously, of the home. Your at-home gyms, working out, since gyms and so forth have closed or limited access to them. Technology in the house, having good Wi-Fi and service has become really important. Now we have dual income families that you have two providers that are working on the home in addition to kids. So it really, has put a lot more emphasis on the environment in which people live.
What about hobby spaces? We really haven't seen a big change to hobby spaces, but I would assume that as people are more home, things like craft rooms and home theaters and those kind of spaces are going to become more important again.
Yeah, getting away from your office and getting away, how do you get away from the homeroom station and the different thing, where's the fun? Probably out, my guess is outdoor living environments will become even more important, coming next spring and summer, where people want to get out of the house, but in a safe environment.
What about accessory buildings? We're seeing people ask about some accessory buildings, and sometimes people would set up their ideal office outside of the home. Jack, what do you think about that?
Well, I think in the areas that they're allowed, most neighborhoods don't allow it, but certainly on acreage. I mean, and you could set up the classroom or the gym out there too, or some combination use to have a. For me personally, I'd rather have my office separated from my house, because my home's my home. So, I think where it's allowed, I think there would probably be some growth. It'd be interesting to talk to people in the pole barn business if it's a growing segment or not.
Yeah. What is ABB doing to adjust with these floor plan changes that you're seeing based on COVID?
Well, we see it in the custom housing side, just based upon our owners meeting with our design team, and we've always created floor plans around their lifestyle, and we're seeing it in the plans and larger dens, more flexible spaces that could be utilized for, if they've got real little kids, it might be a playroom, but it's planned to be a future homework room, which could then be an office or a study. After that, we historically did a lot of flexible spaces, but we're seeing that that's becoming more and more important. And I'm guessing that as this continues and people stay in their homes longer, the need for home classroom space will become more. I think the market may get more comfortable with homeschooling, even when kids are allowed to go back to school full time. That there are certainly some parents that may think that the homeschooling is a better way to go. So I don't think it'll be a huge part of the segment of the market, but I think we'll certainly see an upward trend in that area. We also know that, at least as of right now, a lot of companies are not going to require as many people to come back to the office, and probably see the amount of office space reduced in the commercial market, so that folks can work out of home.
I think one of the things too, when you have a conversation with someone who's thinking about their home office space, it's getting them to think about what might be best for them. What is something that would help their work day? Are they someone that just needs a space to work, or do they spend a lot of time on virtual meetings and maybe it needs to be separated from kids and pets? Maybe it's somebody that, I know I get too far away from the wireless internet and have to bring myself back. Can we plan that as part of their office? I've even been wondering if we're going to see an increase in butlers pantries as part of the home office space. We know dual offices are on the rise. So all of those considerations can make for a much more enjoyable work from home environment.
Great. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us, Josie.
All right.